This is the last talk of the March 89 7-day retreat at Springwater. Since we will read from copyrighted material, this tape is not for sale. We will read as we have so many times. From the teachings of Huang Po and Krishnamurti. Huang Po was a Chinese Zen teacher of the 8th and 9th century, I believe. And his talks and dialogues were recorded by his disciple, who was a scholar and also the governor of the province where Huang Po taught. Krishnamurti's writings are taken from a notebook and from 2 talks, one at Los Alamos, which is a city that grew since the creation of the atom bomb during the Second World War, has a great science research laboratory. He was invited to speak there. And then there will be some excerpts from his very last talk in Madras in 85, I believe, or 86. The writings of Huang Po particularly have been very much abbreviated, sentences, paragraphs, words taken out for the sake of clarity for our situation here. The Krishnamurti talks only a few words or maybe a paragraph is eliminated. We've read from Huang Po, I can't count how many times. For some people it will be the first time to hear these words. And the challenge for all of us is, can one listen in spite of the memory? Freshly, anew, as for the first time. We'll start with a dialogue in which the questioner asks, "What is the way? And how must it be followed?" Huang Po, what sort of thing do you suppose the way to be, that you should wish to follow it? Questioner, what instructions have the masters everywhere given for meditation practice and the study of the truth? Huang Po, words used to attract the dull of wit are not to be relied on. Questioner, if those teachings were meant for the dull-witted, I have yet to hear what truth has been taught to those of really high capacity. Huang Po, if they are really people of high capacity, where could they find people to follow? If they seek from within themselves, they will find nothing tangible. How much less can they find a teaching worthy of their attention elsewhere? Do not look to what is called the truth by preachers, for what sort of truth could that be? Questioner, if that is so, should we not seek for anything at all? Wangpo, by conceding this, you would save yourself a lot of mental effort. Questioner, but in this way, everything would be eliminated. There cannot just be nothing. Wangpo, who called it nothing? Who was this fellow? But you wanted to seek for something. Questioner, since there is no need to seek, why do you also say that not everything is eliminated? You see the logic, our logic operating? If there's nothing to seek, then there is nothing. That's the logic of the brain, but not the truth of reality. Wangpo, not to seek is to rest tranquil. Who told you to eliminate anything? Look at the void in front of your eyes. How can you produce it or eliminate it? Void here meaning everything without a name. Everything without grasping for it or rejecting it. That's the void in front of our eyes, inner eyes and outer eyes. Whatever's there. And he says, look at the void in front of your eyes. How can you produce it or eliminate it? Questioner, if I could reach this truth, would it be like the void? Wangpo, morning and night I have explained to you that the void is both one and the many. I said this as a temporary expedient, but you are building concepts from it. Questioner, do you mean we should not form concepts as human beings normally do? Wangpo, I have not prevented you, but concepts are related to the senses, and when feeling takes place and concepts are formed, wisdom is shut out. Questioner, then should we avoid any feeling in relation to the truth? The Dharma, I'm using the word truth. Should we avoid any feeling in relation to the Dharma, to the truth? Wangpo, when no feeling arises, who can say that you're right? Questioner, why do you speak as though I was mistaken in all the questions I have asked your reverence? And Wangpo, you are a man who doesn't understand what is said to him. What is all this about being mistaken? Questioner, up to now you have refuted everything which has been said. You have done nothing to point out the true Dharma or the truth to us. Wangpo, in the true Dharma or in truth there is no confusion, but you produce confusion by such questions. What sort of true Dharma can you go seeking for? Or truth? What sort of truth can you go seeking for? A questioner, since the confusion arises from my questions, what will your reverence's answer be? Wangpo, observe things as they are and don't pay attention to other people. There are some people just like mad dogs barking at everything that moves, even barking when the wind stirs among the grass and leaves. And he goes on, Wangpo goes on to a little talk. It has never been taught that men should seek for learning or to form concepts. Studying the way, in quotation marks, studying the way is just a figure of speech. It is a method of arousing people's interest in the early stages. In fact, the way is not something that can be studied. Study leads to the retention of concepts, and so the way is entirely misunderstood. Moreover, the way is not something especially existing. Truly, it is not located anywhere. The first step is to refrain from knowledge-based concepts. This implies that if you were to follow an empirical method to the utmost limit, on reaching that limit, you would still be unable to locate mind or truth. Mind with a capital M. The way is spiritual truth and was originally without a name or a title. It was only because people ignorantly sought for it empirically that Buddhas appeared and taught them to eradicate this method of approach. Fearing that nobody would understand, they selected the name way. You must not allow this name to lead you into forming a mental concept of a road. If you now set about using your minds to seek mind with a capital M, or truth or whatever that nameless is, listening to the teaching of others and hoping to reach the goal through mere learning, when will you ever succeed? All the concepts you have formed in the past must be discarded and replaced by void. Later the questioner asks, we're skipping a lot. From all you have said, mind with a capital M is the Buddha. But it is not clear as to what sort of mind is meant by this mind, which is the Buddha. Wangpo, how many minds have you got? Questioner, but is the Buddha the ordinary mind or the enlightened mind? Wangpo, where on earth do you keep your ordinary mind and your enlightened mind? Both in quotation marks. Questioner, in the teachings it is stated that there are both. Why does your reverence deny it? Wangpo, in the teachings it's clearly explained that both the ordinary and the enlightened minds are illusions. You don't understand. All this clinging to the idea of things existing is to mistake vacuity for the truth. How can such conceptions not be illusory? Being illusory, they hide the truth from you. If you would only rid yourselves of the concepts of ordinary and enlightened, you would find that there is no other Buddha than the Buddha in your own mind. You people go on misunderstanding. You hold to concepts such as ordinary and enlightened, directing your thoughts outwards where they gallop about like horses. All this amounts to beclouding your own minds. And the questioner asks later, upon what doctrine does your reverence base these words? Wangpo, why seek a doctrine? As soon as you have a doctrine, you fall into dualistic thought. Oh, I omitted something that earlier Wangpo said, as soon as thought or sensation arises, you fall into dualism. Beginningless time, listen to this, beginningless time and the present moment are the same. Provided you don't think about it. Then there's a division. Beginningless time and the present moment are the same. There is no this and that. To understand this truth is called complete and unexcelled enlightenment. Now he says, upon what doctrine does your reverence base these words? And Wangpo says, why seek a doctrine? As soon as you have a doctrine, you fall into dualistic thought. Questioner, but just now you said that the beginningless past and the present are the same. What do you mean by that? Is one asking this question to get an answer, a verbal answer? Or is one asking this question and not know the answer and therefore listen quietly? What do you mean by beginningless time and the present moment being the same? He asks. Wangpo, it is just because of your seeking that you make a difference between them. Do you see that? Here I am now in my wretched state and I'm seeking an enlightened state in the future. So the present moment divided from the future. And my past knowledge on which I base what I see now. So time is created by this thought. All of these thoughts. Do you see that? The questioner says, if they are not different, past, present, future, time. If they are not different, why did you employ separate words for them? Wangpo says, if you hadn't mentioned ordinary and enlightened, who would have bothered to say such things? Just as those categories have no real existence, so mind is not really mind. And as both mind and those categories are really illusions, wherever can you hope to find anything? Later he says, what is called supreme perfect wisdom implies that there is really nothing whatever to be attained. What is called supreme perfect wisdom implies that there is really nothing whatever to be attained. If you're able to understand this, you will realize that the way of the Buddhas and the way of the devils are equally wide of the mark. Don't hit it, that's what he's saying. The original, pure, glistening universe is neither square nor round, big nor small. It is without any such distinctions as long and short. It is beyond attachment and activity, ignorance and enlightenment. You must see clearly that there is really nothing at all. The great chillicosms, numberless as grains of sand, are mere bubbles. All wisdom and all holiness are but streaks of lightning. None of them have the reality of mind, a capital M. And what reality does that have? When we talk of the knowledge I may attain, when we talk of the knowledge I may gain, the learning I may achieve, my intuitive understanding, my deliverance from rebirth, my moral way of living, our successes make these concepts seem pleasant to us, but our failures make them appear deplorable. What is the use of all that? I advise you to remain uniformly quiescent and above all activity. Activity meaning grasping, clutching, rejecting, seeking. Do not deceive yourselves with conceptual thinking, and do not look anywhere for the truth, for all that is needed is to refrain from allowing concepts to arise. It is obvious that all mental concepts and external perceptions are equally misleading, and the way of the Buddhas is as dangerous to you as the way of demons. Later he says, though others may talk of the way of the Buddhas as something to be reached by various pious practices and by scripture study, you must have nothing to do with such ideas. A perception, sudden as blinking, that subject and object are one, will lead to a deeply mysterious, wordless understanding. A perception sudden as blinking that subject and object are one. No division, no separation, no distance. This leads to, he says, a deeply mysterious, wordless understanding. And by this understanding, you awake to the truth. When you happen upon someone who has no understanding, you must claim to know nothing. He may be delighted by his discovery of some way to enlightenment, yet if you allow yourselves to be persuaded by him, you will experience no delight at all, but suffer both sorrow and disappointment. Even though you obtain from him some trifling method, it will only be a thought-constructed thing having nothing to do with Zen or the truth. Truth is something never lost to you. Truth is something never lost to you, even in moments of delusion, nor is it gained at the moment of enlightenment. It depends on nothing and is attached to nothing. It is all-pervading, spotless beauty. It is the self-existent and uncreated absolute. It is a jewel beyond all price. The very last selection, the questioner says, but how can we prevent ourselves from falling into the error of making distinctions between this and that? It's not that one doesn't discern distinctions, but it's the naming, the reacting, the grasping, and the rejecting. Choosing. That causes the problems, including the chooser. Distinction between the chooser and what he, she wants to choose. Wang Po says, by realizing that though you eat the whole day through, no single grain has passed your lips, and that a day's journey has not taken you a single step forward. Also, by uniformly abstaining from such notions as self and other, do not permit the events of your daily lives to bind you, but don't withdraw yourselves from them. Avoid the error of thinking in terms of past, present, and future. The past has gone, the present is a fleeting moment, and the future has not yet come. When you practice meditation, sit in the proper position, stay tranquil, and do not permit the least movement of your minds to disturb you. We could add, don't let the disturbance disturb you. Because we do get disturbed. But what is it? Can we question it? Not just say, I mustn't get disturbed, but what is the disturbance? Let me pause and look and listen. And he says, this alone is what is called liberation. Be diligent, be diligent. We'll first read from the publication Krishnamurti at Los Alamos, 1984. That was about a little of 2 years before his death. He gave a talk there, and then questions were submitted. It says here, of the 15 written questions, he answered only the first and the last. The last one was, if you were the director of this laboratory with responsibility for the defense of the country and recognizing the way things are, how would you direct the activities of the laboratory and research? And he begins answering this last question. Thank God I'm not. But if I am, would I put this question? If I am the director, would I put this question? Is the question the right question? The questioner says, "Sir, it's a question trying to find a connection between your theories, your beliefs of mankind, and what we are all trying to do, and the everyday practical problems that we have." What you say, what we would like to do, and we have to earn a living. That's what the practical problems of the daily life are. And here we are, in this research laboratory. Creating, among other things, refined nuclear devices. Krishnamurti, yes, sir, everyday problems. Earning a livelihood, sex, having children or not having children, vocation, which is now becoming imitation, everyday problems of quarrels, disagreements, pain, hurts, suffering. You see, our daily existence and our brains are trained from childhood to solve problems. And the speaker is saying that seeking a solution prevents the understanding of a problem. Our brains are trained to seek solutions. I have a problem with my wife. What is the solution? Divorce, or going to a lawyer, or adjustment, or running away, all that kind of stuff. But the problem is what? My assertions, my wishes, my fulfillment, and hers. Let's understand that, discuss it, finish it. If I'm seeking a solution, I never go into the question. The causation of the problem can be ended, not through a solution, but through the understanding of the problem itself. Sorry, the question is, if I am the director, sir, the answer is that's the wrong question. Because this should have been put right at the beginning of man's history, not now. At the beginning of killing man, one human being killing another human being in the name of religion, in the name of country, in the name of God, in the name of crown and loyalty. My country as opposed to your country, my ideology as opposed to your ideology. I'm a devout Marxist, I'm not, in parentheses, or Leninist, and another is Catholic, and so we are at war with each other. That is the real time to ask this question, not at the end of all this, what should I do? We have brought about this. We have divided the world. You're a Christian, I am a black, you're a white, you're a Caucasian, and I'm Chinese, whatever the beastly thing is. We're divided, have fought each other from the beginning of time. The Western civilization has killed more people than any other civilization. It's a fact. I'm not against it or for it. Sir, a group of people like you in Los Alamos, you have given your time for destruction and also for construction. You're doing a great deal of benefit, and on the other side, you're destroying every human being on earth because you have recognized my country, my responsibilities, my defense. And the Russians are saying exactly the same thing on the other side. India, which has immense poverty, is saying the same thing, building up arms. So what is the answer to this? If I have a group who says, let's forget all nationalism, all religions, let's, as human beings, solve this problem, how to live together without destruction. If we gave time to all that as a group of absolutely dedicated people who have gathered together at Los Alamos for one purpose and are concerned with all the things we've been talking about, then perhaps there's something new that can take place. Sir, we've never faced death. Oppenheimer in Sanskrit said, "I am become death." You know that very well. And we don't understand death either, which we will not go into now. But we have become destroyers, and we are also benefiting human beings at the same time. Right, sirs? I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm not a propagandist, but the world is like this now. Nobody is thinking about it. Nobody has a global outlook, a global feeling for all humanity, not my country, for God's sake. If you went around the world as the speaker does, you would cry for the rest of your life. Pacifism is a reaction to militarism, that's all. The speaker is not a pacifist. Instead, let's look at the cause of all this, the beginning of all this. If the causation is there, if we all seek together the causation, then the thing is solved. But each one has different opinions about the causation and sticks to their opinions, their historical directories. So, sir, there it is. Questioner: Sir, if I may say so, I think you have convinced us. Krishnamurti: I'm not convincing anything. Questioner: Maybe I'm not using the proper word. I think you have seen from the silence of the audience that we seem to have enough energy to understand and appreciate the problem. Krishnamurti: No, sir, don't say that. Questioner: What I mean is that when once we really try to understand this and do something in that direction, somehow we seem to lack the necessary energy. With the result, we're still not able to make as much progress as we all like. I would like to hear a few comments from you. What is it that is really holding us back? We can see it, and we can see the house on fire, but still, we're not able to do anything about stopping the fire. Okay? The house on fire, which we think is out there, is in here. We have to put our house in order first, sir. Have to put our house in order first, sir. I was once called by a family whom I've known for some time. Their son came to see me and said, "My father is dying. Will you please come and see him?" And you know, in all families that takes place, the father is dying and they all surround him crying. So I asked the father to chase them out of the room. So he said, "Get out." He made them leave, and they all left, and he locked the door, and he said, "I'm dying, disease incurable, and I'm frightened." So I sat with him and held his hand, and he said it was the first time somebody held his hand. And the speaker said to him, "Let's die together." Which means what? He was leaving all his family. He had a lovely house, a very rich man. And I said, "You're leaving all that. That's what you're afraid of. And also, you are afraid of the unknown. And you're attached. When there's attachment, there's fear, and so on." We talked gently together, and I said, "If there's any kind of attachment, I will die with you. You're free of attachment." So death has an extraordinary meaning in life. To live with death, not separate. Death here and living there, but together. This is the very last portions of the last talk. In Madras, January 4th, 1986. At that time, Krishnamurti was very sick already, had a high fever, we read. How can one explain a meditation that has no measurement, that has no achievement, that doesn't say, I am this, but I will become that? Is there a meditation which has nothing to do with will? An energy that doesn't say, I must meditate? Is there a meditation which has nothing to do with effort at all? The speaker says there is. You don't have to accept it. He may be talking nonsense, but he sees logically that the ordinary meditation is self-hypnosis, deceiving oneself. And when you stop deceiving, stop all that mechanical process, is there a different kind of meditation? And unfortunately, the speaker says yes. You can't get at it through effort, through giving all your energy to something. It is something that has to be absolutely silent. First of all, begin very humbly, very, very humbly, and therefore very gently, and therefore no pushing, no driving, saying, I must do this. It requires a tremendous sense not only of aloneness, but a sense, I mustn't describe it to you because then you'll go off on descriptions. If I describe it, the description is not the real. The description of the moon is not the moon, and a painting of the Himalayas is not the Himalayas. So we'll stop describing. It's for you to play with or not to play with, going your own way with your own peculiar achievements through meditation, rewards, and all the rest of it. So, in meditation which is absolutely no effort, no achievement, no thinking, the brain is quiet, not made quiet by will, by intention, by conclusion, and all that nonsense. It is quiet. And being quiet, it has infinite space. Are you waiting for me to explore? So is your brain ever quiet? I'm asking you. Your brain is thinking, fearing, thinking of your office work, of your family, what they will do, your sons and daughters. Thinking, which is time and thought. Is your brain ever quiet? Not made quiet by drugs and by whiskey and various forms of drugging yourself. You drug yourself when you believe. You drug yourself and say, yes, this is perfectly right. The Buddha has said that, therefore it must be right. You're drugging yourself all the time. Therefore, you have no energy of that kind that demands the penetration of something immense. So we're now going back to find out what creation is. What is creation? It has nothing to do with invention. What is creation? The origin, the beginning? What is life? Tell me what you think of it. What is life? Not going to the office and all the rest of it, sex and children or no children but sex and so on and so on and so on. What is a life? What gives life to that blade of grass? What is life in us? Not all the things that we go through, power, position, prestige, fame, or no fame but shame. That's not life. That's part of our mishandling of life. But what is life? Why are you listening to me? What makes you, if you're listening at all, listen to the man. What is the motive behind your listening? What do you want? What's your desire? Behind the desire there is a motive. So what is desire? Desire is part of sensation, isn't it? I see a beautiful clock or an ugly clock, it's a sensation. The seeing brings about a sensation. From that sensation, thought comes and makes an image of it. That is, I see the clock, rather nice, I would like to have it. The sensation of seeing, then thought coming and making an image of that sensation, and at that moment, desire is born. It is very simple. Is there a brain, your brain, which is not muddled up, muddled by environment, by tradition, by society, by all the rest of it? What is the origin of life? Are you waiting for me to answer it? This is much too serious a subject to play with, because we're trying to inquire into something that has no name, no end. I can kill that bird, but there's another bird. I can't kill all birds. There are too many of them in the world. So we're inquiring into what makes a bird. What is creation behind all this? Are you waiting for me to describe it, go into it? Do you want me to go into it? Why? From the audience to understand what creation is. Okay, why do you ask that? Because I asked. No description can ever describe the origin. The origin is nameless. The origin is absolutely quiet. It is not worrying about making noise. Creation is something that is most holy. That's the most sacred thing in life. And if you have made a mess of your life, change it. Change it today, not tomorrow. If you're uncertain, find out why and be certain. If you're thinking is not straight, think straight, logically. Unless all that is prepared, all that is settled, you can't enter into this world, into the world of creation. It ends. This is the last talk. Do you want to sit together quietly for a while? All right, sit quietly for a while. May we get up and go now? We will end here for today.